What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state.
It's going to be.
I think it's up to the states, yeah.
Yep.
States person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
Maybe it'll help you.
Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Terrorists keep terrorizing.
Well, Reefer Revolutionaries, the good people fighting for social equity in cannabis legalization are challenging lawmakers and corporate cannabis lobbyists from coast to coast. As New York legalization is stalled, California delays $10 million in equity funding as Los Angeles expunges cannabis crimes and is looking to hire a social equity manager. And we told you a year ago cannabis would be a top issue in 2019 and 2020, and it's official. The States Act, introduced on Capitol Hill with bipartisan support. GOP's pushing for it. And you know, Donald.
I'm all in. This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
Yes, you know who's all in? The people over at WE TV, the Cannabis Media Network.
Do you know why I pulled you over?
It's going 5 over in the school zone.
Sure were. Where are you coming from so fast?
South of Broadway in Maine.
You understand that that's a hotbed of drug activity. Do you go there often?
It's on my way to work.
Okay. I need you to step out of the vehicle, sir. You're being detained.
This is an example of what not to do when getting pulled over. Know your rights and do it like this.
You know why I pulled you over?
No, why did you pull me over?
Because you were going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit. Where are you coming from?
I'm not discussing my day.
Not discussing your day, huh? Well, all I gotta say is that it smells like marijuana here. You been smoking something, son?
Sir, am I being detained or am I free to go?
You're being detained. Now tell me something. Is there marijuana in this vehicle?
I invoked the fifth.
Pot brothers at law.
Just shut the fuck up.
That's right, Reefer Revolutionaries. Shut the fuck up. Except on Sundays at 420, when we spark up and talk about marijuana in the mainstream media, the politics of pot and cannabis cures. And when I say we, of course, I mean my partner in all things life and cannabis, Coach Chela.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
And it sounds like your mic's on.
Yeah, I put it on.
Oh, good.
Shockingly.
We're looking a little hot, but you know what? Chela's got a new mic on.
I have a new mic, so if there's an issue, let us know, guys.
She is
and gals.
She is wireless. She's
I'm very
wireless
excited
today. We're trying out some of our new equipment that are our patrons are helping out getting ready to take it on the road, folks. We got some big news around that, but we'll talk about that later. Oh, I'm hearing something.
Me too.
I think somebody jumped in. Hang on. I'm going to mute him.
All good, all good.
Luis did. Very good. He's on tour. He's on top of it.
Fabulous.
He's on top of it. What's up, everybody? Welcome, everybody in the chat. Barbara Bartleson jumping in first. Small Tubes, Blaster Master, Tony Montana looking to sell his cannabis farm. Is that what's happening? Brian Wilkinson, I think you're in Oklahoma. We got Oklahoma news in the afterburn today. Who else in there? We got Nikki Smith sharing our stuff. Share the channel, folks.
Love
Share
that.
the broadcast. We love that. We are broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, and WE TV, the Cannabis Media Network. So wherever you are, if you can, do what you do. Thumbs up, like, share, ring the bell, subscribe for when we get notifications for when we go live. Do all the things on whatever you're doing, and I thank you for joining us on whatever platform you're joining on. Big show today, folks. Very special guests joining us live and in person via the Zoom. We've got a big event coming up this weekend that we're going to be attending here in Los Angeles around social equity and cannabis legalization. It's a hot topic across the country.
Yeah, that's the state of Cannabiz you're talking about.
That is the state of Cannabiz we're talking about.
The inaugural state of Cannabiz. We're very excited about that event.
Super excited. We have a social equity focus much of the time here on our show. And it's great to see the folks that are putting this together. We're going to talk to them about getting the cannabis industry in California off to the right start and make sure they work social equity into the program, and there's already shenanigans, folks. Already shenanigans to report in the news this week. A lot of the news this week over at the Cannabis Chronicle at dc420la.com, and the headlines focusing on Los Angeles and California this week because of the event coming up and our guests today. So we will get into that before they join us at 5 o'clock. We will be joined. Very exciting, very exciting. Luis Rivera, Ryan Bacchas, and Adriana Gomez of the organizers of the State of Cannabiz and their individual organizations. And we're going to talk about all of those very exciting groups and this weekend's event. And
yeah, they're all doing really great work.
Amazing.
Yeah, in the social equity and legislative space. It's really all around cannabis, of course.
Individually and as a coalition.
Yeah.
It's needed and it's being done. And we're going to talk to them at 5 o'clock. So share the broadcast. Let everybody know. Invite them over if you are interested in social equity in cannabis legalization across the country and in California, fighting corporate cannabis, essentially, and the lawmakers all across the country in this legalization rush.
Well, the lawmakers just need lots of education because they've been brainwashed for 70 years. So
indeed, 70 plus.
They need lots of us to send them nice notes, and whenever we can talk to them at parties and in social situations or at parties, when you get together with your congress member, when you're elected officials, at city council meetings, or at the things that they do when they bring their constituents together, whatever those individual events are. Try to show up, try to see them when it's not a critical moment so that you can help educate them about cannabis normalization and why we need to include everyone, especially those impacted by the war on drugs, in moving us all forward. So.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Excellent. Well put. Bonnie Lee just invited 277 people over there on Periscope.
Wow.
Thanks, Gypsy Lady Lee, Bonnie Lee over there. Cannabis Sativa enjoyed your podcast recently, enjoying your work. Thanks for joining our show. I think that's you, right, with the podcast. Ellen Blasey is in the house. I see Happy Guys there. Cosmic Lettuce is in the house.
Ernest of Gaia.
Ernest of Gaia. Who else? Am I missing anyone?
One Love Organics.
Oh, One Love is here.
Yeah.
Not Alexis personally, but part of the team.
Always happy to have all of y'all.
Love
Brian
the engagement.
Wilkinson.
Love the Brian is in there.
Tony
yes.
Montana.
I
think you got everybody. All right.
Full house.
Well, nice to see you all.
Yeah, great.
Always good to see you.
Thanks for joining in, guys. This is, of course, Reefer Revolution Live. We do this every Sunday at 4:20 Pacific. Multi-streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, D-Live, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. And you can, we got Oscar, look at Oscar Grumbledore over there, is on the couch. Jack's on the pillow. He's not in a shot quite yet. But
thank you for reminding me where all y'all are from in the chat. So thanks so much. We really appreciate that.
And what are we smoking? What are we smoking at? What are we smoking, Jill?
What are we smoking?
On the launch, yes?
Yes, we have a blend of Harlequin Tsunami at the beginning and end.
Nice.
And we got something else in the middle. I think it might be Mystery Cookies again, but I can't remember.
Cookies last week.
I can't remember.
Let's just take a look at this beautiful bud here.
I went to another convention this weekend.
Oh, yeah, that was cool.
It was Aging into the Future. And everybody, I went with another person who works around cannabis and older people. And everybody we talked to about cannabis, they were all very, very interested.
They always are. Anytime, believe me, in some respects, Mr. Rosenthal is correct. The stigma is very lifted, but they're still not coming out of the cannabis closet. Everybody's on board.
Yeah.
Everybody we talked to was on board. Even the doctors. We had a very interesting experience a couple weeks ago with someone we had basically said cannabis helps dementia. And she said, wait a minute, no. The doctor said no. And we said, no, it does, actually. Our experience, personally, we're not doctors. But in our life, for 9 years, certainly did. And guess what? She asked her doctor about it for her mom, and her doctor said, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. Great idea.
But they don't bring it up.
Yeah, they don't bring it up. They can't bring
crazy.
it up. They can't bring it up because of the scheduling. But that's so exciting. Things are changing. Things are changing. Things are changing this year. Gee, Who said cannabis was going to be the issue of 2019 and 2020?
DC did.
DC did 2 years ago on the Week in Weed, DC 420, the Week in Weed, and subsequently on all of the Reefer Revolution live shows.
It's
so
true.
we have been, and I guess we're not alone. There are many cannabis
We aren't super
media.
special smart pundits.
Yeah, no, but
we did see the writing on the wall before anybody else was willing to talk about it.
certainly before the mainstream media.
Because we do this for fun. Because this is fun.
We
are Rachel Maddow getting paid $30,000.
Well, the thing is, we have wonderful patrons, and we have and lots of other amazing things in our vortex that are starting to pop, and we're just going to make the show better and better, and still have fun. The key is to still have fun in everything we do, and we're having fun today, and we're gonna have fun all during the show because it's going to be a great interview starting at 5:00. And let's get into the news so that we can get into that interview sooner rather than later. And if you want to follow the show other than on Sundays at 420 Live, I do most of my tweeting over on Twitter. I don't know if you were the same, but I tweet over there at DC420LA. That's my Twitter. And Chela does the Instagramming over at Reefer Rev Show on the gram, where she's expanding her Gen X mind.
No.
To Instagram.
I'm sorry. I have to tell this story.
Okay.
This morning I was trying to make a post. I started, by the way, at 9 a.m. trying to make a post. And I made this decent post, I thought, that included everything that I wanted to include. And I tagged all the people I wanted to tag. And it wouldn't post. It just wouldn't post, and it wouldn't post, and it wouldn't post, and it wouldn't post. And I couldn't figure out why it wouldn't post. And it said, because of the network. But I was getting plenty of updates and all kinds of new pictures. Anyway, I tagged fewer people, and eventually I got it out. You may have seen it. I think I got it out around 12:15.
It does look as though it had made it out.
So yeah, it took 3 hours.
Well, that's the behind-the-scenes shot.
Yeah, for me. Yeah, no, that went out right away. No problem. No problem.
There's jackpot.
Silly behind-the-scenes-ness, no problem. But the official, that was to let people know what we were doing today.
That's this one.
Yeah, was like, it took 3 hours. For some reason. I think they didn't like that I tagged 20 people in it. So, yeah.
There's a photo.
Yeah, there's a photo. Anyway.
Yeah, but those great folks are going to be joining us at 5:00. So, yes, so the gram, that's where the gram
So, I'm working on the gram, y'all. So, bear with me with the gram and the publicizing and the stuff.
We need a social media volunteer, I think.
It'd be really rad if we had a social media volunteer, but then we wouldn't learn anything.
That's true.
So, it's important to learn. I think it's important. Brian Wilkinson says he's blind. There's too much smoke.
We're in Hollywood. We're in Hollywood, Brian.
We're a better podcast anyway, Brian. Just listen.
The first call on the set is always more smoke to the special effects guy.
It's true.
So, it's called atmosphere.
Hey, I want to make a note of something that One Love Organics gave us a little heads up on.
Yes.
I just need to scroll back so I get it exactly correct. They were telling us about when Alexis testified in Colorado, for the bill to expand
the tyrannical list.
Yes. The AARP people were there for some other bill.
Oh, interesting.
And most of her compliments after came from the AARP people. True story. She was worried before. So you see, I think older people really, I think, are the fastest growing demographic. But we're going to find out this weekend at the State of Cannabiz when EASE gives their update on who the fastest growing demographics are. So there's lots of really interesting panels at the State of Cannabiz this weekend, and if you're in LA, I think you should go, and we'll see you there.
Yep.
That would be really rad.
And we're going to hear all about it. We will definitely be there doing interviews and maybe covering the whole event at some point, but definitely be there. The cameras will be there for Reefer Revolution Live.
Yep.
And tickets are still available here in the LA area. So downtown LA. And we're going to talk about that at 5:00. But let's get into the news so we can start talking about that event. And that news we're talking about, of course, is over at A Cannabis Chronicle, DC420LA.com. I put out one newsletter every week and at Sunday, usually Sunday morning when I roll out. I roll out and roll up. I put out the Cannabis Chronicle. And that's all the news that we basically look at in the show for the first hour or first half an hour. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. And there is one story, since you did bring that up, Chela, there is one story in there from Market Watch this week that not only are we seeing news, all kinds of news about seniors getting into cannabis, fastest growing demographic using. They're also getting into selling it. I think you found this this
I
story
did.
In Market Watch, and so not only are they using it, they're telling other seniors about it, which is very exciting.
When you got aches and pains, you got to share. You got to share when you fix them. You know.
Indeed. Continuing in the news, the big headline this week. There was actually a lot of action in the stories. I basically tweet out the stories I find throughout the week and get some action on them and see how good they are, and then I'll load them up into the website. And this, of course, Politico agreeing with us that legalizing pot is the new Democratic litmus test. The near universal backing of cannabis legalization is a stark contrast to recent presidential campaigns. Not just recent. We talked about that with Ed Rosenthal about how if Gore had actually embraced cannabis in some form, just hey, we need to look at it, we need to study it, as opposed to rejecting it out of hand, that election might have been way different. And Hillary, of course, was not for it back in 2016, or at least super quiet about it. But
no,
now,
not for it.
Not for it. No, not for it. Definitely not for it.
Her kid's not for it either.
Yeah, that's true. That's right. She's see. Mm-hmm. But
Kool-Aid.
they're going on tour. You know, you can
whatever.
Go see,
God bless them.
You can go see Bill and Hill.
I wish them nothing but the best. Let's move on to a better story.
Donald was in L.A. this weekend, raising money.
Donald is going to get cannabis off the Schedule 1. So say what we want about him.
Well,
and all of his faults, of which he has many, he's going to take cannabis off the Schedule 1. I bet you $1.
Well, you know, he's a state's guy, Chela.
He is a state's guy. I hear that every week. He's a state's guy.
And Cory Gardner has spoken to him last year. He spoke to him about the States Act and seems to think that he would sign it. And it has just been reintroduced this year. And boy, it's everybody was there. Big Petey, Little Petey, Orth Petey, Wee Petey. I mean, we're talking bipartisan. Blumenauer, David Joyce, Republican. We've got Barbara Lee, Joe Nguzzi. Nguzzi? It's probably wrong. Cory Gardner, Republican. Elizabeth Warren. And look at there, Matt Gaetz over there in the corner, Republican out of Florida. So everybody's on board. The States Act has been introduced in both, looks like it's been in both houses. Massive. And look at that. Top GOP congressman presses Democratic majority to pass marijuana bill. Tom Angel writing in Forbes this story over at the Chronicle. Top Republican on criminal justice issues calling on the new Democratic majority to pass legislation to let states legalize marijuana without federal interference. And that is Representative Doug Collins of Georgia. Georgia, of course, passing legislation this week as well, allowing a way for patients to actually get the stuff that they're allowed to use in Georgia. Congratulations.
Without breaking federal law.
Sebastian and Jaeger.
Yep, good job.
Being able
Jaeger.
Being able to grow...
Jagger. Like Mick Jagger.
Right, Mick Jagger, right. Not like Jägermeister. Sorry. I never liked that stuff anyway when I did drink.
I think it's because
Jagger.
It's because Sebastian is French.
Right.
You just automatically try to go French
It's the
with
actor.
his kid's name.
It's the actor in me. What can I say?
But it's not. It's like Jagger, like Mick Jagger.
Like Mick Jagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So everybody's on board the States Act. If it can get through, if we can get past McConnell. McConnell is probably the biggest stumbling block, and if he's a turtle, so it's gonna get hard to get by him. But he was on hemp. He was on board hemp. So let's see. You know, maybe something happens. I think it's going to. Meanwhile, let's stay at the federal level, talking about once again. Outgoing chairman of the FDA, Gottlieb, said, yeah, you guys are going to have to figure this out. CBD is what we're talking about. And now there's more hearings being scheduled for May to talk about CBD in food and drinks, which it's already in everything everywhere.
The horse has left the barn.
The CBD burn. The CBD horse has left the barn. Don't put the cart before the horse. But it's happening already. So the FDA now wants to hear about it. The UN apparently is still delayed in their findings because we still haven't found any stories on them making a remark.
Nope.
I haven't seen anything in Marijuana Moment about the UN changing their status. So the FDA is going to be doing public hearings. Will probably be you can do the whole same thing, electronic, in person, written, blah, blah, blah. There'll be a window probably of about 7 days, which the last one was pretty pathetic. It might be why the UN and WHO and all those guys on an international basis are delaying or continue to delay their decisions. So, but we will get a chance once again to tell the FDA all about what we think CBD in food should be. Let's legalization. Great little article over here in Leafly Politics. 10 things every new cannabis law must have. Top of the list, cream of the crop, home grow, crop at home, home grow. Number 1, automatic expungement. Number 2, diverse representation in regulation, transparency in regulation, dedicated tax revenue. Establish equity assistance program. That should be higher. And deadlines must be met. Like the deadline in California. I don't know if it's actually a real deadline, but it's been delayed. A story in Marijuana Business Daily with no explanation. California regulators delay marijuana social equity funding.
Great.
This reported by John Schroyer over at
Maybe our
Marijuana
guests
Business
will have
Daily.
an idea why.
Yeah, we should ask them if they know anything. But the story.
Hey, if you guys are watching, maybe you know why.
The State Bureau of Cannabis Control, the BCC, that sounds so tyrannical already, earlier this month began accepting grant applications from cities that have social equity programs intended to get minorities and those impacted by the war on drugs more involved in the industry. The BCC had originally slated June 30th as the deadline for giving out the grant money. It's not my guys, it's a typo. In a Saturday news release, the BCC said it was canceling the application period effective immediately and that it will, quote, review and revise the grant program guidelines, unquote, before announcing a new timeline for the $10 million in funding. So that's disconcerting with what's going on here in California and Los Angeles. We reported, I think 2 weeks ago, we reported that the LAPD was using LA's equity money, $10 million to the tune, to pay off their overtime and their $80 million overage. So the money apparently is not going where it needs to go here in California. But we are getting some expungement, which is kind of cool. Good to know. We've been talking about Code for America. It's been happening up in the North Bay Area. And now it's happening down here in Los Angeles. Lacey is on board.
Finally. We've complained and complained and complained.
Yeah. We protested her enough down there. That's for sure.
We did protest her, and
a lot of people protest her daily.
And I even told somebody who works for her why she was so silly for not embracing that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that she is embracing it. So yay, Jackie Lacey.
Jackie Lacey. Very good.
Thank you for doing the right thing.
Very good. Yes, 50,000 going to be expunged by the algorithm. The algorithm, AI, is hard at work, taking away jobs, but expunging cannabis crimes. So that's good. And there's a couple other areas that are using it in the same week too. I think Santa Cruz, but there's a couple other places that are starting to pick up on this. Code for America, doing a great job. With the expungement, not giving the cities any excuses anymore. So that's good. LA, we got some more LA stories happening. We're going to get into some more California conversation. LA is hiring.
For the hardest job that they have.
I don't know why this position wasn't filled originally.
Maybe because they never intended on doing it in the first place.
Gee. LA's struggling cannabis market hiring a social equity program manager. So get your resumes out there. Looks like you might be able to get into a lot of regulators. Actually, a lot of.
It's a hard job, dude.
California's hiring cannabis jobs.
I know, but the job that they're advertising for is a very hard job. I mean, they're paying very well. It's like 90 to 140.
Right.
But it's a hard job. They're going to be yelled at, especially because their program isn't funded yet.
Right.
So they're going to get yelled at like every single day.
You're not going to get paid, by the
screamed
way.
and yelled at. No, they'll get paid, I'm sure. But their program isn't funded, so I don't know what they're going to do there. Maybe this is a good sign. Maybe this is a sign that they're getting serious about funding the program, that they're hiring a program coordinator.
Well, maybe that's the delay. The excuse for the delay is like, well, we don't have a coordinator. We want to do it right, but we saw the
you need to have a
testimony.
You need to have a master's degree, and I've been working for 3 years in this sort of space.
Well, that's interesting, considering the space has only existed for 3 years.
Well, no, because medical cannabis.
Right, okay.
You could be a lawyer. There's lots of different other, possibilities. But I'm glad that they're looking into it.
Phil Britton joining in.
Phil Britton.
Pirate Radio, 4 square miles in Cortez, Colorado. Sorry.
Where will 50,000 ex-prisoners find jobs in California? Well, I don't think that they're ex-prisoners. They're not like letting them out of jail. They're just expunging their old records.
Yes, it's folks that are already suffering from them having it on their records, trying to find work, or loans or whatever it is. It's going to give them a step up. I mean, there's no mass release of convicted people, although I'm sure there are people working to do that. If there are people that are in, and there still are, 94% arrests across the country are for possession. California is probably, a little lower, I would think, but maybe not. We know it's still happening in California. 80% of the state is, it's said we're banning commercial cannabis activity. In fact, there are several cities that are now suing. We're going to talk about some of the legislative, this state of cannabis is all about a legislative, not all about, but part of this is a legislative update of what's going on in California. And there are some bills that are being supported and fought against up in the State House that are basically hindering access. We know the compassion bill is making its way through, 34, AB 34. That's getting end up being signed by the governor. That's going to help with the taxes.
Yep.
There
were some happy vets, even though they mounted the bear.
They're going to be part of the this weekend's EXPO as well. Weed for Warriors. Sean Kiernan is going to be there, and I'm sure he'll be talking about that. But they're also up against. Was it 15? The number escapes me, but it's a delivery bill that they're trying to stop. They just got deliveries back statewide, and now they're trying to stop it again. And that's really what this lawsuit is all about. The report in Forbes, LA Times, Patrick McGreevy writing about the California cities that are suing the state over home deliveries of pot. Beverly Hills topping that list of one of the cities and communities that are suing the state to stop cannabis from coming into their communities because they don't want it there, even though it's legal in the state of California for everybody of an adult age to consume, use, grow with local regulations in play. And these cities are suing to stop deliveries from coming in. And that's really the argument about deliveries is if you're already banning commercial activity in your city, how are people that live in your city going to, especially people who don't have easy mobility, going to get medicine if they don't get deliveries? And there's somewhere over 300 delivery licenses. Is that what I read?
375, I thought.
Yeah, delivery licenses in California right now. So their companies are there trying to fulfill the need beyond the overpricing and taxation that's hindering access. But there are companies trying to fulfill that need. But the cities are fighting tooth and nail to keep crime out of their cities, which is just ridiculous. Terry Hyvonen. Am I pronouncing that name? Not maybe. Hello, David Chela from Ugly Adams at Holy, Michigan. Hello. Did you hear at the Hash Bash?
Holy.
It was the largest hash bash ever, I heard from Daily. We hear from Daily Dope on his Twitter account.
Well, it should be the largest, right? Because now it's legal?
Because now it's legal.
So people who were afraid to attend may have been able to attend for the first time.
Pretty exciting.
People with kids get hinky about stuff like that. My parents didn't, mind you.
Because it wasn't legal?
Yeah. But my parents talked about it. My mom maybe was a little more hinky about it than my dad. But my dad was always a big
But we've got some video in the afterburn from Michigan and the hash bash, so we'll catch that in our second 3 hours. We're going to finish up the news here because we're getting close to the top of the hour. We're going to be joined by some awesome guests that are organizing the State of Cannabiz that's this weekend, dealing with the issue of social equity in California legalization, making sure that it is not forgotten, and in this green rush. And speaking of the green rush, apparently it's going to be the green crunch coming up at the end of April, everybody. We're going to run out of pot again. We were going to run out of pot. I think we were going to run out of pot last year, weren't we, Chela?
Yeah, there's always a threat.
There was a pot apocalypse going to happen last July with the labeling and testing laws.
Because they had to burn all that pot.
They had to burn all that pot, like the DEA, who found a company to burn all that weed, industrially speaking. But Leafly, this one chart captured California's cannabis supply crunch, and it all comes down to essentially the licensing pipeline is a mess and ridiculous. You know, what they should do is just give out all the licenses, make everybody licenses, and then like go back and go figure and then work it out and say, okay, we got to do this, you got to do this. But the problem is, it looks like at the end of April, we're going to go from 7,000 temporary licenses growing in California to about 1,500 legal grow operations in California. That might keep some stuff off the shelves in the regulated market. I think your guy's probably still going to have his weed, but the shelves in the stores might be a little more bare coming up in the summer months. If they can't, now the state is trying to alleviate this by facing a crash in supply of legal cannabis, quoting from the article, then the collapse of the nascent industry. State regulators last week reported a 100-fold increase in the monthly rate of cannabis farm licensing. The question is now, will the new pace be enough? So they're increasing. They're just, okay, stamp them. Just stamp them. It's like, go, 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 grow, grow, grow. So what my question is, why weren't they doing it in the beginning? Why weren't they doing that in the first place? As Hezekiah Allen said this month, I'm paraphrasing, people buy weed from their friends. And if their friends don't get licenses, the unregulated market is going to still exist. It's just what it is. The people that are going into the shops are the tourists, are the first timers, are the comebackers, the people coming back to it that don't have a guy. they're the people that are going into the shops. That's why the sales are down. The tax revenue is down. Everybody's complaining about that. That's why. That's why the black market is thriving.
The what?
What?
The traditional market.
The traditional market. I quoted. I did air quotes. Can't see air quotes, though.
I can't hear air quotes.
The traditional market is thriving.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, do it 1,000-fold. Give licenses to everybody, and then work it out. Cannabis never killed anybody.
Nope.
Even you know what's killing more people? Romaine lettuce.
True story.
Romaine lettuce and peanut butter.
Well, people are allergic to peanut butter.
Yeah. So, there are places that tell you can't even come in this place if you're allergic to nuts. So, and that's just walking around every day. So, get this. Listen, you guys are the ones that want to stop the traditional market, not me. I did not want Prop 64.
No.
As a lot of people didn't want Prop 64. But we got it. And we got to keep a couple of things in mind.
I like
overtaxation and overregulation and equity. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I like that New York has held up their legalization because they've seen how California has screwed it up.
Yep.
And other states have screwed it up. So I'm glad that they are slowing it down. I wish we could slow it down a little bit. In one respect, but really I do wish that there was a faster pipeline to onboard way more people in the traditional market, because there's lots of families and people who have been making a living for generations that brought us to this point that are getting left behind in the new regulated market. So I'm hoping that our guest today will help enlighten us on what's going on in that pipeline and how people can start getting into that space as the equity program coordinator is going to be hired. I'm hoping that that's good news, that they're going to somehow fund the program and start moving forward on that. They can just grant them the thing. They don't have to actually have money. You know, it doesn't cost money. They can just say it's paid, you know, stamped, done. And they can move forward on processing equity licenses. In my mind, I don't see why they actually need hard cash. They need a program coordinator. That's true. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that all that will move forward. One of my favorite stories this week was from Eater, which was the story that the cannabis industry has always been rooted in racism. Black chefs are pushing back. Black chefs cooking with cannabis are reclaiming the traditions of medicinal cooking. And viewers of the show will know that I talk a lot about how Hippocrates said that food should be your medicine and medicine your food. So I really took to this article, of course, because that's my wheelhouse. I found it super enlightening on a couple levels. Of course, I've always known that black and brown people were disproportionately policed in the cannabis space and in the war on drugs. But Dave and I have been talking behind the scenes about, you know, where's the Ed Rosenthal of the black and brown community? Where are those people? Who are those people? Why don't we know about those people? And it's because in those communities, they were disproportionately thrown in jail, and that's why I think we don't know about them. But in the black community, in this article, it reminds us that if you're in the black community and you deal in cannabis, you're considered to be uneducated. And these black chefs that are talked about in this article are really trailblazers. They're women and they're trailblazers, and they're you know, busting down doors and doing some really great work. So I encourage you guys to read that article too.
And that is all over at the Cannabis Chronicle, DC420LA.com. You can check out all of those articles and a whole bunch more. It's always packed with a ton of stuff every week because it's a lot of news every week. Just off the top of the headlines there, Israel decriminalizes adult use cannabis during Cannatech conference in Tel Aviv. And it's an election season, by the way, also there. So cannabis is a big issue over there, and that's why Netanyahu changed his mind. So a lot of great stories over there, even just in the headlines, talking about the different states. New Mexico with a big decriminalization bill. New Hampshire making moves to legalize. Minnesota. Department of Corrections are changing their policy about parolees.
I like that one too.
Great story. And of course, Florida trying to limit THC in their now smokable cannabis.
Oh, Florida.
That was another story that everybody was reacting to this week over on the Twitter. They read the paranoia and the propaganda about the high THC cannabis that's causing issues, that's causing all the mental problems, and they just rolled with it and said, okay, 10%, that's considered high. We're going to cut it off at 10%. It's a plant, idiots.
Yeah.
It's a plant. That was an arbitrary number to begin with, by the way, with hemp, industrial hemp, qualifying the different plants. It's arbitrary. They just came up with it, decided that's what they should come up with. And made it that. So go over and check out the Cannabis Chronicle, DC420LA.com, and you'll catch some really great articles every week. You can peruse all week long while you're waiting for the show or after we talk about it on the show. Or what you do is you check it out Sunday, and then you know what we're talking about on the show. So that's kind of fun. And
like a book report.
What's that?
Like a book club.
Like a book club. And we're actually we're gonna take a little. We are not gonna shut down. Actually, the stream is gonna continue.
What?
We are about to invite our guests into the room. Yes, indeed. So we are Chela.
Yes.
I'm gonna turn it over to our producer to just give us a little brief discussion about what this is all about, who we're bringing in. And
all right. So we got the state of Cannabiz 2019 Legislative Update and Business to Business Expo this weekend, Saturday the 13th of April. And it's organized by Luis Rivera, who is Collective Strategies, Social Equity LA, Adriana Gomez, and Ryan Bacchas. Hi, guys. Ryan Bacchas from California Cannabis Coalition. And they have teamed up to create this incredible expo that is going to be filled with lots of great information. There's going to be, they have it sectioned out into 3 sections. The wellness section, of course, has my heart, of course, as you know. There's a business section, and of course the legislative update. So I'm really excited to hear more about how they got together, what they're all doing in their respective organizations, and more about the state of cannabis itself. So are you ready to bring them on screen, babe?
Well, I think you need to, hey guys, can you hear me?
The wellness section, of course, has my heart. I think they can hear us. I can hear me hearing them.
Hello?
Hi. Oh, there you go. There
How you guys doing? Sorry, having those audio difficulties.
Oh no, I hear you.
Okay, we're gonna work it out.
We did our test, and then they immediately had echoes, and I had to fix some audio difficulties too. But we got it.
Okay, I think we're good now.
I think we got.
Okay,
and I think
cool.
we got. Let us know, guys, on the stream if we are echoing. I don't think we are, but definitely let us know in the chat. Because I don't want us to have a big echo as we're going through. We can try to fix that. But I think I have fixed that. You guys can hear us on the Zoom, right? And I think people in the chat, let us know. Make sure you can hear our guests and also us. And I'm just really quickly, I'm going to introduce the 3 folks that are on screen right now. You actually, oh no, I just clicked a button I shouldn't have.
It's okay, we're going to get there. One-man band.
Excited.
You're like that.
One-man band.
You're like that, you know.
And plus, I should put my glasses on.
Oh, yeah, there you
help.
Go. All right, good. We're all getting in there.
All right.
All right, squeeze.
Hey, you guys are great.
Oh, there
hey,
you go.
guys.
Hi.
Doing?
All right, we
Awesome.
have on screen Luis Rivera, Adriana Gomez.
How's it going?
And
What's
Ryan Bacchas in the middle.
And Ryan Bacchus in the middle. I'll switch those around. Thanks, guys. Say hi.
Hello, are we good with the audio?
I can hear you.
I can hear you. I think we're going out. I see it going out over the meter. So I think we are good.
Okay, cool.
Welcome to Reefer.
Right, sorry, you know how that goes.
Indeed. Welcome to Reefer Revolution Live. Thank you guys for joining us. We are, of course, here to talk about cannabis equity and the state of Cannabiz, which is this Saturday,
the 13th.
The 13th.
Yes.
Do us a favor. Tell Luis, maybe you start. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your organization, and lead us off with your cohorts, and tell us about the state of Cannabiz.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Nice kickoff, and I appreciate you, Coach and Dave. You guys have a great show. I'm glad to be on.
Thank you much.
I'll just kick off here. My name is Luis Rivera. I am CEO of Collective Strategies LA. We're licensed cannabis event organizers, doing both consumption and non-consumption events for sales and non-sales on site. Also doing mostly economic and workforce development, and we'll talk a little bit more about the event, but I'll pass it on to Ryan and Adriana to talk about a little bit about their work.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Bacchas, Chairman and President for California Cannabis Coalition. Hope we're all doing great out there. Of course, as you know, organization statewide for now 10 years, working locally and with the state government in order to proliferate policy reform efforts, regulatory standards, and just accountability standards for our whole industry, not just cannabis, but hemp, and setting the foreground for especially, you know, those policy frameworks as well. So going on that, you know, of course, for a decade now. So it's been a very big honor to serve the industry and all of its needs as we do.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Adriana. I am the co-founder of Social Equity LA. It's an online and in-person platform that helps social equity candidates navigate the system and the process and legislation here in Los Angeles.
Awesome.
Yeah, so good stuff. Yeah, I know you guys talked about what's going on in LA. I mean, you know, there's a lot, well, statewide with social equity. Here, you know, a lot of what we're doing in our overall work is about access, inclusion, and diversity, and making sure that access to information's out there. You know, the inclusion within, you know, minorities, women, and those formerly incarcerated. get an opportunity now that it's legal, making sure that, we're taking advantage of these programs. Unfortunately, some of the pitfalls and problems with the legislation is always kind of an issue, and I think we saw that with the state kind of putting themselves, the cart before the horse, with this recent rollout. So hopefully they're able to kind of retweak it, I guess, to say it nicely, and hopefully they're able to get that together, because we really need the funds out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was very disconcerting to hear the couple of things in the last week that just they're just dragging their feet for some, money being shifted in Los Angeles. Now the state saying, "Hang on a second, we're not, for whatever reason, just no answer as to why they're delaying the continuation of the program." So it's just, I think the rollout maybe of this whole thing was they. I don't know. Maybe was it? I know everybody wanted it. Everybody said, "Hey, here we want our legal weed," and then they came up with these temporary rules that just became one problem after another. More and more taxation, more and more over-regulation, and now what's supposed to have been, definitely part of Los Angeles, but in the state as well, is social equity. And here we see dragging our feet. We saw the nonprofit model. That was supposed to be a report was supposed to be done for the nonprofit model under Prop 64 was delayed also another year. So we're seeing corporate cannabis, I think, weighing in across the country. Certainly in New York, we saw the list come out of what they didn't want, what MedMen and others didn't want in their legalization in New York. And now we're seeing, all the way out here to the West Coast, you're seeing, I'm sure, the influence of these corporations that are stopping home grows, delaying equity, all in the chase for tax dollars and profits, while still arresting people, 94% for possession, and not allowing re-entry entry into this legal market. So Ryan, why don't you jump in, talk a little bit about the coalition. Or Adriana, or talk about LA Equity. Either one of you, talk about your groups and what you're doing and how you got connected and why you're putting this State of Cannabiz together this weekend.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, especially as far as with what we do with the coalition, especially is obviously the legislation is a very big piece of everything in the mold, but also is the education and mobilizing those grassroots communities, not only the communities, but the people within them, stakeholders, local elected officials, the district leaders, different things of that nature, because of the fact that it was a cart before the horse situation, because as you're seeing, 80% of California is not online, even with, of course, the state now being sued by the 24 cities, including Riverside, Beverly Hills, and some other cities, as well as the Riverside County, or Santa Cruz County, rather, for delivery statewide. You're seeing a bit of a dichotomy, and that is the haves are having an easier way than the have-nots, because access, as it's being hindered more, not only with it being hindered more, but the supply chain taking a big hit, cultivators coming off, 2,000 roughly, losing their licenses. It's one after another. And you think about it, even going to the scope of social equity, you think about it as some of these major brands in the industry, even with corporate influence coming in now from Canada and from some other countries as well, and even from the other side of the country, you're seeing that if this is a big burden for the guys that are supposedly the top in the industry right now, was that safe for people who are, for example, the true social equity owner, that one true applicant who's the mom and pops, the guy just running it by himself and doing it bootstrapped with 1,000 square foot of floor space. And that's really what it comes down to.
Also, for Social Equity LA, one of the biggest things that we saw for initially, and why we decided to create this social enterprise, is a lot of the information that was public, so-called public, wasn't really accessible to everybody. A lot of the communities that are disadvantaged, and a lot of the communities that had most of the social equity candidates did not have this information. It wasn't accessible to them. So what was happening is this information was being sold to them. So they were paying to get public information, and we realized that that's one of the biggest things we can do for them. We can create a place where they can find the information that is free, clear, summarized, and easy to understand, and have them follow that process so they can then have a better opportunity of being able to enter the industry.
Yeah, we've heard too many and seen and witnessed firsthand too many stories and unfortunately individuals that have been taken advantage of by investors or those claiming to want to work with them, but they have this whole ghost type of ownership model. So for us it's really about making sure that the equity applicants really are those truly that want to be in there, that are being set up for success. That's really why we've started the work with Social Equity LA in terms of bringing that access, that information that's just simple. It's out there, and I know I worked in the city and got to learn the insides and the ropes. So just how the information is segmented and kind of throughout the committees and how laws are made. All that stuff is something that an average person, let alone a social equity applicant per se, would be able to follow, given all the things we're all dealing with on a daily. So we wanted to do that, and that's really what the state of cannabis really ties into. It's just a broader version of that, the whole state of cannabis, if you will, taking it past social equity, and showing that we can do what others maybe aren't doing here in LA. I think one of the major reasons why we wanted to have the state of cannabis was because we saw things happening and great things going on throughout the state per se regarding networking and access to politicians and legislation to the business owners and that type of work that still is far from where it needs to be, but especially here in LA, it's not happening. So we want to create that space, that networking space, that work space where legislators are actually hearing from the store owners and the business owners and vice versa, so that policy is being set up to enable the marketplace. So with that, I'll kind of just set up the event a little bit, but I want to let Adriana kind of kick it off and give a little more details to where it's at and what date and all that.
Sure. So the event at State of Cannabis is going to be at the Convention Center, Los Angeles Convention Center in downtown LA on April 13th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We chose the Convention Center because it's one of the best, if not the leading venues, professional venues for exhibitors, conferences, and other type of trade shows. I see that cannabis is no different than any other expo, any other trade show, and it's accessible to everybody in Southern California, so it's well known, and we decided to go for it.
So it's a great day, packed up. So it's starting off with a legislative expo. Update, giving some background from the state and federal level, and then going into an EASE report. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention, but EASE and DOPE are two of our major partners here.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's pretty awesome. Well, that's amazing.
No, I think it was really smart also of you guys to choose the convention center. It was really brilliant.
But so much, but it's really showing the diversity of who the partners we can bring in. If you go on the website, State of Cannabis, you'll really see a lot of the partners, not only them two, but they are key. Yeah. And part of that is EASE is putting together an insight report. They have a lot of data to help destigmatize and show what the consumers now are and kind of sales and how that's doing and who's really buying. So they're going to share some highlights, kind of continue to spur that dialogue and show the data behind the consumers. So with that, so from there, we'll go into some of the expos, the B2B sessions, I should say, which there are 5 of them. So Ryan, if you want to kick off with who our moderator is and some of the panel.
Yeah, that'd be great.
First, let's start off with our wonderful hostess with the mostest, Beverly Hills Cannabis Club, Cheryl Schumann. She will be moderating all the panels, as well as there will be some sub-moderators. We're having a panel not only on social justice, but the war on drugs, some of the elements around that and how it circumferences opportunity and opportunity within the industry. Our panel for that will be including the Drug Policy Alliance, of course. Also, California Minority Alliance, Virgil Donahue, and them will be in the house. Nice. We'll also have some panels on holistic medicine, wellness, as you said, that's very close to your heart over there, Coachella. So we made sure to out for you on that. We got the Weed Warriors Project, Dan Paws from Orange County Normal on that panel, Lanny Swertlow from I believe it's Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project. He will be moderating that panel.
And Brownie Mary Democratic Club, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, from that, yes. As you know, he does a lot of great work over there in the high desert and the Inland Valley area. So we made sure that a lot of the people, including, of course, the Veterans Cannabis Coalition, who they're talking about their work on the federal level, all the veteran groups that we have there, even some of the social justice groups like California Minority Alliance and Drug Policy Alliance, it's to be the center place for the voices who have been there, not only for the long run, and especially making sure that the industry has become established as it is today as much as possible, but the ones who are continuing that fight in the best possible ways and come with the true intent of how this industry actually started.
Yeah.
So, you know, make sure that, of course, what their message is there, but it's also being communicated what's really happening in our industry from the people that are truly fighting those battles on the forefront.
Awesome.
Well, I know that, you know, one of the narratives, or one of the concerns that I heard this week coming out of New York, and their halting essentially of legalization over equity, which I think is a good thing to throw the brakes on a little bit, because they were certainly rushing in this political season. And I think you brought it up nicely, and that you're addressing it, is that here you have generations really here in California, but everywhere, families in a traditional market, you know, growing, selling this federally illegal substance to support their families, to support their locales, their towns. Out here in California, Northern California, I mean, there's towns that are supported, you know, with recreation centers from cannabis, you know, cash. There's a lot of containers full of money buried up there. Let's get it in the banks. But there's a lot of people who have have lived on this for generations, and now they are being literally illegalized. I mean, it's Prohibition 2.0. It's more illegal now that it's legal. Now they've got a list. Now they've got a list of who is legal, and they know if they're not on that list, you know, they just look at a picture and they're like, oh, look, there's a cannabis grow, and they're not on the list. Let's go get them. So it's a whole, you know, and we're worried even the governor of California is going to swoop in with another, you know, what was it called? The camp, you know. Yes. Yeah. So that's awesome that you're doing this, and that I know LA also, Social Equity LA is also involved in expungement clinics. Is that correct? Just as an organization?
Correct. That's one of the services we provide.
Great, excellent. That's awesome. And with this algorithm, which is so exciting, working within the communities that are bringing it on, as we saw in the news this week. We still need, you know, ways to get people to know how to work through their old convictions so they can participate in this somehow, and that groups like you know, the three of you, and coming together and doing this expo and bringing together the businesses and making sure that they don't lose sight of it. It's really nice to see Ease, which is obviously a California-wide company, involved,
and Dope Magazine,
and Dope Magazine, which is, you know, one of the premier culture magazines of the space, and
Beverly Hills Cannabis Club with the California Minority Alliance. Right. I mean, that we can all come together, because cannabis does bring us all together.
And you know? there's expo after expo, they're popping up. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry, say that again.
But people aren't using it with that intent right now, so we got to get it back to how it used to be, being
exactly
supposed to bring people together. Yes,
it does. Yeah. It does help bring people together. At this I went to a Aging into the Future conference this past weekend, and I sat down next to this lady, and we started chatting, of course, and another fellow sat down, and we were like the United Nations at this table, and everybody at my little table used cannabis. And of course, I talked to them about cannabis, and they were all over 65, and it was a wide range of people. And people who've been using it for 50 years do come from a melting pot of diversity, you know. So it's the MedMens of the world that have made it look like it's not that way. But the fact is that we are all cannabis, you know.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I mean, you know, not only is this even an example of that, of who we all are, cannabis is something that brings people together. It's something that has always, been used for kind of spurring that healthness, that healthness, the wealth, and all that. So for us, it's really about getting us to get together and making sure we provide that information, that access, and get the diversity in partners. I mean, we don't want to see what happened before happen again, and it's hard to take the kind of separate the conversation from cannabis legalization and the war on drugs and the effects that it had on so many cultures, so many communities. And so it's a part of that in here, and we want to show that, and we also want to show that the unity, and that's one thing that we've been able to find here in Los Angeles, at least, and even throughout the state. There is a sense of people wanting to come together, learn, network. So this is, this event is really an opportunity for making that happen.
Right. If I can add to that, I think another reason why we think it's really important to make sure that this venue or this state of cannabis happened is because a lot of the events that you hear about are either very expensive for the average person, sort of exclusive, and it seems like only those who can pay the price have access to the elected officials or to the real information. So we wanted to make sure that anybody, whether you're in the industry or trying to get into the industry, you have access to that information. It is affordable, and it just brings a variety of people together. So that's also women. One of my passions is trying to encourage women to be more active and more part of the industry. I think it's sort of it's been a taboo for women to be vocal about it. You can be part of it as long as you're not too vocal. Your family doesn't know about it. So now that it is legal, now that you can actually become a businesswoman and do this the right way, I think it's great for women to come out and start, start coming out of the 2% ownership and maybe just become,
And even on that note, EASE is a great example of corporate responsibility and partnership that they do to be able to really, provide the data and show kind of, and even this partnership. So we want to continue to use these opportunities to kind of show the diversity and through whether it's in women empowerment and education or events, it's all about bringing people together, spreading the knowledge, and getting corporate to be responsible as well. One of the things, just, last point maybe on social equity is that, this is broader than just owning a few shops and people with licenses. This is about corporate responsibility, economic and workforce development, and the different opportunities are coming. We have some great state partners from the EDD, the Development Services and Department of Industrial Relations, who are going to come talk about from an employer standpoint, because now there's Cal OSHA, there's requirements, there's ways to do this, and employees can now be represented. And so for us, it's really showing that just that spectrum of just the broad information and the broad knowledge that it takes to run a business. So we'll have that. We'll make that accessible to everybody at a low price, a great venue.
That's great.
We want everybody down here. On that note, we have a 20% off discount, Social Equity LA.
Awesome.
You type that there, helping some more people out. But obviously, if there's anything, you can get in touch with Adriana at info@Social Equity LA, or either one of us if you have any questions on that.
Stateofcannabis.com also has that information. So if you scroll down to the contact page, you should be able to contact any one of us.
That's great.
Very good. Thank you so much for the discount code. That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yes.
And well, really, thank you for creating this event for us to all come together. Because if you hadn't have made it, we wouldn't have reached out to you and said, hey, let's talk about this, because this is totally in our wheelhouse. So we're super stoked to be...
And in our neighborhood.
Yeah, and in our neighborhood. So we're super stoked to be coming to see you guys on Saturday and be a part of it and interview some folks and get more of this information out there to the people. As you guys know from our show, we're a very education-based project. We want the news of cannabis as medicine and as a legit business opportunity and legit medicine to be normalized and not to be just like snickered about and oh, cannabis is medicine, ha ha ha. No, dude, it's really medicine.
Well, I think we're starting to see these these tropes start to disappear. We still have work to do. We definitely have work to do in this space. Here we have an amazing industry that it's like out of the gate, it's flourishing. And we have to make sure that the people who have created this industry,
the foundation
of this industry, actually are able to get into it and be a part of it.
Yeah.
And you guys doing this is so crucial. We're going to be coming to you guys live throughout the event on Saturday. We'll be checking in. We're definitely going to be doing interviews. We're going to be doing some expanded coverage. So make sure you subscribe, get notifications, ring the bell for when we do go live over the weekend, over Saturday, the event from 10 to 4.
The State of Cannabiz.
The State of Cannabiz.
With a Z.com.
With a Z, yes, .com. We're
yes.
gonna have we'll have that in the description, or it's already there.
It's in the description right
Perfect.
now. I'll double check. The link is in there. State of Cannabiz with a B at the end.com. Tickets available. We've got that discount code if you want to join us. Come down and see us at the State of Cannabiz. We will meet Luis and Adriana and Ryan in person and talk to you guys, get you guys on camera to talk about it. We thank you for coming on and for the work you guys are doing.
Yep.
This
Throughout
is so crucial. And you're so right. These expos, it's another racket. These business expos are just another racket to go along with corporate cannabis. I mean, John Boehner is selling, he's doing his investment racket.
Yeah.
There's expo. So it's nice to see an accessible expo that is educating people around how they can get into this business. Coming from the exploited class from the drug war, how you can break through and get into this and actually start to make some real money in this business. Is going to be it's the fastest growing business in the United States. As soon as the States Act is passed and we start to see descheduling on a federal level, I mean, even John Boehner is saying that it's going to be out of control. You look at the jobs, it's outpacing healthcare, it's outpacing construction now. When the feds actually start tracking job growth in this industry, it's going to be ridiculous. So we have to make sure that the people that have suffered under prohibition for all these years have the chance to do it. And you guys are starting that and doing that now with a real expo that's going to be beneficial to folks in the business. And we're going to see you guys Saturday. Thank you for joining us today. We'll catch you on Saturday. We'll come down early. We'll talk during the week because we want to talk about logistics for the event. We want to support you guys in however we can, our channel and our show, and making sure the information that you guys are putting out, the panels and the people, it's just great. We're super excited you're here today and super excited we're going to be a part of it on Saturday.
Yep.
So,
thank you so much.
Some last thoughts about Saturday and social equity in LA and in California.
Well, first, if I may, thank you for you guys' support, especially your show having us on. But one thing is we really do, being that Los Angeles has not come fully online and the reasons why even the industry in LA is not fully as it can be, we want to make sure that we're on the right side of history. And this is what this is about.
Absolutely.
How the war on drugs started, it definitely was a big reason of why things are happening now. We need to prevent them, but we also need to create a space for everybody. So that's what this is about, is the people united will never be divided. So thank you for your guys' support and see everybody on April 13th.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Luis Rivera, Ryan Bacchas, and Adriana Gomez, the organizer of State of Cannabiz this weekend in Los Angeles,
cool.
The 13th. We'll see you there, guys. Thanks for coming on. And stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Cool. Thanks so much.
It's going to be so cool.
Yep.
That's
State of Cannabiz.
Cool. I am totally
excited really
about
good.
That, that was great. Those guys are doing amazing work.
Yep.
And guys, I use the colloquial.
Folks.
The folks.
Those folks are doing really great work.
The folks are doing great work over there at State of Cannabiz. And they're the California Cannabis Coalition, Collective Strategies, and Social Equity LA.
Yes,
three
sir.
amazing organizations
Yep.
working together to educate and help people, give people a hand in navigating the green rush and corporate cannabis crush in California. So make sure you subscribe, get notifications. We're going to go live, probably check-ins on Saturday. I don't know if we're going to be able to do a full live stream out of there, but we'll definitely check in.
Something will happen.
We'll be getting some, something will definitely happen. We'll be getting some great interviews.
It's going to be awesome.
On camera with those folks and some other folks that we have on our wish list of folks we want to talk to. So, and we'll be able to report on that next Sunday.
Yep.
On the show. So that was cool, guys.
So
awesome. Thanks everybody in the chat. Lots of chatting going on in the chat about all kinds of things.
Super chatty. There was a lot of Bernie Sanders chatting in there.
It was a good talk. It was a very. This is a hugely important issue from coast to coast, as you saw in the Chronicle this week. New York legalization basically stopped in its tracks over equity, and the issue of equity in the the highest consumption of cannabis, New York City. World consumption. Before they go full legalization, they want to get it right too, hopefully. And those folks working here in California and in Los Angeles. All right, guys, that's our first hour.
Yay, first hour. Good job.
That was awesome.
Good job, first hour.
Good job,
Dave's going to do some retooling.
I think your sound is sounding pretty good over there.
Good.
I think has everybody's cello sound awesome today? She's on a new mic. She's on a new mic, and I've been seeing a lot of overmodulation, so I've been trying to ride it. I've been trying to ride it, but I think I've kept it up.
Oh, goodness.
One Love Organics had to step back, had to step away. You're back. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Certainly. We're about to go into the afterburn.
That's
One
right.
Love. Stay in the chat. RBU's in there from Australia. We've got news out of Australia this week. We've got world news. We've got news from all across the country. And we're going to be right back with the afterburn, guys. That interview was great.
Yep.
Stay in the chat. The YouTube stream will come back up on the main page, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Holy Cannabis Oil. You're very kind.
Holy Cannabis Oil. Lots of information coming through. It's great. I haven't been able to keep up in the chat because I've been trying to listen to our guests.
And Holy Cannabis Oil said, "People, hit that thumbs up button."
Oh, that's
so.
Yes.
Thank you.
And share. We are planning more and more interviews now. We've got a bunch on deck.
That was fun.
And we're going up north.
We have to interview Roger Christie. We still have to interview him.
He's on the. I mean,
I'm going to reach out to him.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
It's a big one.
But now we've got actual. Yeah. Now it just keeps.
But State of Cannabis came up, and it was really timely, and it had to be done.
It had to be done. It's this weekend.
There's so many good people to talk to, you guys. We could talk to people forever and never talk about the news.
Coach Chela sounds like an angel. RBU.
Oh, I don't know about that. A very raspy angel.
Brenda Vaccaro. Angel.
Thank you. Yeah, Brenda Vaccaro is an angel.
Yes. All right, guys, we're going to shut down for a second.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with the afterburn.
I'll
blood
still be
commentary.
with you in the chat.
What's that?
I'll still be with them in the chat.
All right, Chela's going to hang out in the chat. I got to retool. I'll be back in 2 minutes. And free the plant, free the people. Pot for peace.
That's right.
We'll be right back. Reefer Revolution live. Sundays, 4:20%.